Shane Van Gisbergen has completed his second Xfinity Series race at Martinsville Speedway and finishes in 28th position after getting caught up in a late race incident with Ryan Sieg with around 20 laps to go. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel and welcome back to our video. As I just said a second ago, Shane Van Gisbergen has completed his second Xfinity Series race at Martinsville Speedway, the second time he's ever been at this racetrack, and finishes in 28th position. Shane qualified in a respectful 20th place going into the event and actually moved up the road to 18th because Parker Clearman had to go to the rear of the field because they had some sort of brake issue. He would have to go to the rear of the field. This moved SVG up to 18th position. At the start of the race, Shane Van Gisbergen started on the outside and tried to make his way to the inside lane. And he started making his way toward the front slowly but surely. Shane would start up in 18th, and that car looked really, really good. There would be a crash early in the race for AJ Allmendinger, who got into his teammate, who got in the outside wall with the flat tire. This would move SVG up from around 17th to 16th position going into the next restart. Then we got racing once again, and then another caution would come out. During this time, around lap number 37, after my sider got spun going into turn number 3, this is when he decided to stay out, and he tried to play a little bit of strategy. Cole Custer stayed out. A couple other guys, like I think Sheldon Crease stayed out, if I'm not mistaken. But you had guys like Eric Almirola, who came down pit road, who looked really strong. Chandler Smith came down pit road. Justin Allgaier came down pit road. I believe Jesse Love might have come down pit road as well. And I believe Sam Mayer also stayed out, so it meant that SVG be restarting in 4th position. On the restart, Shane was very, very aggressive and was starting to make moves to try to get up to 2nd position. They put on a really good show and really great battle for 2nd position. And then another caution will come out on lap number 47 for another crash. Can't remember exactly who ended up wrecking, but there another crash that ended up happening. This moved Shane up to 3rd position. And then on this next restart, carnage would once again ensue between Shane and the 2nd place driver. Put on a really good show. I believe it might have been Blaine Perkins or someone, if I'm not mistaken. He put on a really good show trying to get the 2nd position and got up to 2nd position. But then with 6 laps to go, another caution would end up coming out. Now, they thought at that point that this was going to be the end of the stage, so they actually decided to come down pit road. But for whatever reason, NASCAR would go back to green with 1 lap to go in stage number 1, and then they basically came down pit road for whatever reason with a couple other cars. Bad strategy from Kaulig Racing, in my opinion. After stage 1 had concluded, Eric Almirola would end up beating Cole Custer and edging him out, and Shane would come off the corner of stage 1 and finish in 32nd position. And then on the restart, and on the 2nd stage, some other guys came down pit road like Cole Custer, and Shane would be restarting around 25th to 26th. But on the longer run, this 97 car actually showed some speed. Not race-winning speed by any stretch of the imagination, but Shane was starting to make his way toward the front, and he started passing the cars in front of him. By the lap, I think 50 or lap 75 or 80, he was already up to around 25th or 26th, and he continued to start charging his way to the front. By the time he got to lap 100 of the event, Shane was around 20th position and got up to guys like Parker Clearman and Brennan Poole and was starting to pass those guys to get inside the top 20. He then eventually got around a driver like Bubba Pollard, I believe Sam Mayer as well, and got himself up to around 17th or 18th position. And then another caution would end up coming out in the middle of the pack for another wreck that ended up taking place, and Shane and the rest of the field came down pit road. Now, Shane had an okay pit stop, but not a great pit stop, really didn't lose any track position, and maintained a really solid position around 15th place. And then on the restart, Bubba Pollard would have some sort of electrical issue, and he would end up coming to the garage at that point and ending his day, joining drivers like Parker Ressler have a crash earlier, and other drivers like William Swatch later in the event who fell out of the race. But he did get back on the racetrack, so he was in a pretty good position there, but unfortunately was 27 laps down. But Shane really started making his way up to the front and started charging his way up forward. That 97 car, like I mentioned, was really good and was able to hook the bottom really well. And from this point, Shane would maintain a top 15 run for most of the rest of the stage. And coming to the end of stage number 2, Shane would come off the corner, and while he didn't get stage points, would come off the corner at the end of the stage and finish around 11th or 12th position. Then I believe they stayed out, if I'm not mistaken, and they would restart kind of closer to the front. And the racing started getting really, really good up front between Eric Almirola and Sheldon Creed and those guys, while Shane started to continue to charge his way up to the front and would restart around 15th position or 10th position. And he started using the outside and inside and was really working for his car for whatever reason, battling guys like Parker Clearman and Anthony Alfredo and Sammy Smith and Ryan Sieg, battling those guys up front and trying to get up there to get potentially up there, contend for the lead. And then Shane also, of course, at this point had damage on his front of his car, which I think was affecting the aerodynamics just a little bit on that car. And then Shane continued to be around that 10th or 11th position as the run progressed and went on. And then more cautions started flying. You had a spin for Preston Pardus with 76 laps to go in the event. He got turned by somebody going into turn number 1 while Eric Almirola was trying to lap the people in front of him. He got spun out by Kyle C going into turn number 3. With 76 to go, they would go back racing with about 70 laps to go. They would get racing once again. And then we started seeing multiple wrecks take place. Sheldon Creed would cause multiple of those incidents, dumping SVG's teammate Josh Williams and Blaine Perkins going to turn number 1. That brought one caution out. And then with around 50 laps to go, Sheldon Creed dumped Brandon Jones going into turn number 1, while SVG was right in front of that, and Brandon Jones spun hard into the outside wall, unfortunately ending his chance at a really, really good run. Meanwhile, SVG continued to maintain a top 12 run after Ryan Sieg had gotten past him. And then we continued having more chaos behind him, and another caution would end up coming out before we got to the second to last restart with around 30 laps to go. Eric Almirola continued to maintain the lead while Shane was running around 12th position at this point. But then on this restart, everyone checked up in front. Eric Almirola kind of checked up on the restart, and Sam Mayer got a ton of damage on the front, and the engine ended up letting go. And going into turn number 3, I'm not sure if SVG ran into some fluid, but he would go up the racetrack, have maybe some contact with Jesse Love, and get into Ryan Sieg, and they both ended up crashing. After 2 really good runs between Ryan Sieg and SVG, both their nights would unfortunately get affected. Ryan would come back and finish inside the top 15, while Shane would get a ton of damage on the front of his car. Might have been a mistake by SVG, I'm not entirely sure to be honest, but just a big mistake there that cost a shot at a really, really good finish. And unfortunately for Shane, he would end up going a lap down. Now, luckily for Shane, he wasn't completely out of the race. He was hoping at this point for there to be a yellow so he could end up being the free pass. But unfortunately, that yellow would never end up coming out, and Eric Almirola would come off the final corner and end up picking up his 3rd win of 2024, and Shane would come off the corner and finish in 28th place. After a really, really promising run for Shane, where he looked like he was potentially going to get a top 10 finish, could have gotten his first ever Martinsville top 10 finish, he got caught up in someone else's mess, got caught up in other people's messes, unfortunately, and unfortunately cost him a shot at a really, really good run. But he showed a lot of promise tonight. Like I said, that 97 car showed some really good pace and really good speed throughout the evening. It's just a shame he got caught up in that incident with Ryan Sieg, because both those drivers, like I said, were really running really good. And I don't think Ryan Sieg did anything wrong personally. Ryan Sieg didn't cause the incident. Shane might have been at fault. I'm not entirely sure on that. But there's a lot of promising stuff to look at. Shane showed a lot of promise. He showed a lot of potential and just got caught up in a mess. It is what it is. Sometimes you're going to be the one that's really lucky, and sometimes you're going to get caught up in a mess that really isn't your fault, or you're going to be sometimes the one that makes a mistake. It is what it is. It's frustrating for Shane, but it is what it is. It seems like every time he has a Wendy's car, it seems like it's cursed, because every time he has that car, something goes wrong after running really, really well. But Shane had a solid run before the end of that, and he had some really, really good speed. That car looked really, really good out on the track. But as for Shane, now the focus is going into tomorrow, because now for Shane, he needs to be able to go out there and perform really, really well. He had decent speed in practice, was inside the top 30. I don't expect him to be a major threat or contender, but if Martinsville turns into chaos like the Xfinity races turn into and the truck race turned into a couple nights ago, I think it could turn into a very, very chaotic night. But he's going to be competing against a lot of great drivers like Bubba Wallace, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, you name it. Other drivers like, of course, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin is starting at the rear, and William Byron and Alex Bowman competing against all those guys. But I think that SVG will have a lot of work to do. Tomorrow is his last Cup race of 2024, unless they make the decision to run him at Phoenix. Next week will be his final Xfinity Series race, at least as a full-time driver, and now he'll focus on the Cup Series race. Unfortunately, he will not win the Rookie of the Year this year because Jesse Love is too many points ahead of him. Jesse Love has won the Rookie of the Year, but SVG has probably been overall a better rookie than Jesse Love this year, also better than Haley Deegan this year. But I think SVG's done a really solid job this year. It's a shame the race did not end up going very well for him. It's a disappointing end, but nonetheless, SVG finished 28th. He'll look to run really good in the NASCAR Cup Series race tomorrow afternoon at Martinsville Speedway, which again will be his final Cup race of the year. So, that is going to be it for the Shane Van Gisbergen video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links description below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. What are your thoughts on today's episode on Shane Van Gisbergen? Let me know it in the comments below. Tomorrow on the channel, of course, we are going to have the starting lineup video for the Xfinity Series 500, or the Xfinity 500. We'll also have the cover review for the Xfinity 500. We'll talk about drivers, of course, like Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, all that stuff. Talk later this week about Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, you name it. And, of course, we'll talk also about some other drivers and some news around Chandler Smith and Cole Custer and all that stuff as well. And we'll have the Shane Van Gisbergen video also dropping tomorrow night as well. We got a lot of great content dropping over the course of the next couple days that I cannot wait for you guys to check out. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.